Move to approve the minutes from our December meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Thank you. Appointments and nominations. Earlier in this month, we were notified of the upcoming vacancy on the Florida Commission on Offender Review. I move to direct the Office of Cabinet Affairs to work with the Commission to advertise the vacancy. From there, we will consider options in June. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, hearing no objection, the motion carries. Moving to our agenda, DEP Secretary Alexis Lambert.
Item 1 includes a request to convey approximately 22 acres of non-conservation land to the Board of Trustees of Hillsborough College, a determination that the conveyance is within the public interest, and authorization to modify and release deed restrictions contained in the deeds noted in the item.
Yeah, we did a press event on this a few weeks ago, and I've actually, before that, went and personally toured the area. I think Hillsborough College, obviously has a big footprint in the overall area, as many campuses. That's kind of the core campus. There's a lot that needs to be done on that campus, and my view is rather than pour money into rehabbing old buildings, why don't you reimagine it in a good way? And I think that's the Hillsborough College leadership's position on it. But what I saw was really just an underutilized area, not the best area. I think there's a lot of potential. And so for Hillsborough College to be able to potentially do a deal that will be beneficial to them, but also the overall economy and community with the Rays and all the stuff that would come from that, I think would be very, very exciting. And I think it'd be something that would be good for HCC. And I think it's also something that would ensure that baseball remains in Tampa Bay, which I think is important, but also just offering some vitality to that particular part of Tampa. You got the baseball, you have the Tampa Yankees, the Steinbrenner, you have the Bucks, and then if you had the Rays with everything they're planning around that, I think that's going to really change the character of the area for the better. So I've been really impressed with everything that's been put forward, and I really appreciate the folks, both the board and the president of Hillsborough College, leaning into this. I think they see a lot of avenues to really take their campus to the next level, and I agree. And so I think this is appropriate to empower them to be able to negotiate a deal that's going to allow them to have a reinvigorated and reimagined campus, and also connecting some of their students to all the great things that are going to be happening around them. And so I move to approve the items as presented. Attorney General, do you have a second?
I do. I think it's clear that, this is going to create a greater benefit than retention, in its current state ownership. What's today largely just a bunch of parking lots will be completely renovated to a live, work, entertain district that, is going to have significant economic benefit to the state. I also think a lot of great opportunities for the students to do internships, apprenticeships, walk right across the street and have job opportunities right there. And at the end of the day, I'm a big fan of keeping the Rays in Florida. I know they were looking at other states, other options, and I'm happy we'll be able to keep them in Tampa.
Commissioner? Yeah, one of the things people were like, I think I was asked at the press conference, well, how much is this land worth? Honestly, I don't know that it's worth very much outside of this proposal, because you wouldn't, like a home builder would not put a subdivision there, no way. People wouldn't do commercial buildings right there now. You really, in order to make this something that's special, it really has to be something unique like this. And I do think there's a lot of potential there, both for the college and for the team and for the fans and for the overall community. Look, it'll have an economic benefit for the state of Florida writ large, but honestly, I'm much more concerned with making sure HCC goes to the next level and making sure the fans have a team, in Florida that they can root for in the Tampa Bay area. We didn't have one when I was growing up there, and then as soon as I left for college, the Rays came. And they've had good players, hasn't quite worked to where this franchise has been super successful, because there's an economics to this. But I think as we've seen, there's a formula that applies to these things. And you like, look, I like baseball, but like not everyone's just going to go watch baseball just because they love it. You got to draw them with other things. The Lightning have done a great job with making it the place to be. That's why they sell out. And I definitely think there's potential in Tampa for this. So I know there's a lot of other, there's going to be a lot of other hurdles that need to go. I know HCC is going to be working with the organization. I know the organization is going to be working with the city and county, and we'll see how all that plays out. But I think the vision is compelling, and I think this makes a lot of sense from the state's perspective. And so that is no objections to that. Okay, please present your next item.
Thank you. Item 2 is the consideration of the Florida Forever Priority List and Work Plan for fiscal year 26-27.
Okay, move to approve the item as submitted. Is there a second? Second. Okay, the motion carries.
Item 3 is the consideration of an option agreement to acquire conservation easement over approximately 456 acres within the Longleaf Pine Ecosystem Florida Forever project. The property is within the Florida Wildlife Corridor and the Ocala to Osceola Corridor, and will protect Florida's natural lands and provide critical linkages for wildlife habitat.
Okay, move to approve the item as presented. Is there a second? Second. Okay, hearing no objection, the motion carries. Rural and family lands.
Good morning. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Rural and Family Lands Protection Program has 2 items for your consideration within item 4. The first project is Square One Ranch in Highlands County. This easement will protect 1,500 acres of working ranch land for $6.1 million. This project has a $2 million cost share partnership with the U.S. Air Force Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration Program to contribute to the established Sentinel landscape in Avon Park Range. Today we have Chelsea Weisner, Director of Land Protection for Conservation Florida, in attendance representing the landowner and the REPI partnership. With the partnership, the project cost for the state is $4.1 million. This property is already enrolled in the FDAC's Best Management Practices Program and is entirely located within the Florida Wildlife Corridor. The second project is Buckhorn Ranch in Hardy County. This easement will protect approximately 1,300 acres of working ranch land with limited sod, citrus, and rotated row crops for $5.3 million. This project provides protection to Buckhorn Creek, which is part of the larger Peace River Basin flowing into Charlotte Harbor. I'd like to thank Julie Morris, Executive Director of Florida Conservation Group, for her work on the project on behalf of the landowner. This property is also enrolled in the FDAC's Best Management Practices Program and is entirely located within the Florida Wildlife Corridor.
Okay, move to approve the items as presented. Is there a second? Okay, hearing no objection, the motion carries. Thank you. Revenue. Good morning.
Governor, Cabinet. The department has one item on today's agenda. The department is requesting approval to publish a notice of proposed rule for rules relating to property tax oversight and approvals to file for final adoption if no changes are made. This request excludes the proposed rule changes for rules 12D-9.03 and 12D-9015, which are still under review. Request approval.
Okay, I move to approve the item as amended. Is there a second? Second. Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Privilege.
Ben Watkins, Bond Finance.
This morning, 2 reports of award. One was $23.5 million Florida Gulf Coast University for workforce housing, which traded at 4.58%. And the second is Turnpike Revenue Bonds, $238.3 million, which traded at a true interest cost of 4.18%. So those are the 2 bond sales since the last cabinet meeting. Item 2 for your consideration are resolutions authorizing the issuance and competitive sale of $238.5 million for Florida International University Dormitory and a $16 million refunding for debt service savings.
Okay, I move to approve the items as presented. Is there a second? Second. Okay, hearing no objection, the motion carries.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the issuance and competitive sale of $165 million of refunding bonds for debt service savings for the right-of-way program.
Okay, move to approve the item as presented. Is there a second? Okay, hearing no objection, the motion carries.
And Governor, just an update on our debt reduction program.
Sure.
So it's been 3 years since you started this, and the legislature has been kind enough to appropriate $1.7 billion for reducing debt. We've deployed $1.1 billion of that. So we've still got another $700 million yet to go. We've reduced principal of debt by $1.2 billion and avoided interest cost of $410 million. So if you think about it from a budgetary perspective, we've used $1.1 billion to save $1.6 billion prospectively. So thank you for your leadership on that, Governor. Also, in the current fiscal year, we've been given $830 million to appropriate. And we have repaid all of the environmental bonds that are outstanding. So that program has been around for 30 years, since 1990. We've repaid all of that debt, so we're at zero now. And we still have another $600 million, which we will be utilizing between now and the end of the fiscal year. We'll likely offer we're going to do a tender offer first. We'll likely offer for $1 billion or more of bonds, buying those back from the secondary market from existing investors in order to reduce debt and interest cost. To the extent that we don't get offers for that amount, we will use that to prepay existing outstanding indebtedness. So I'm very happy with where we are. I'm very happy with the savings that we've generated prospectively, both from an economic standpoint as well as a budgetary standpoint. I'm a little disappointed. We got another $250 million, which you included in your budget recommendations to the legislature to continue this program, to continue paying down state debt and reducing the interest cost over time. Unfortunately, the legislature, at least on the House side, has decided that they would rather use that money for another purpose, but we stand steadfast in pursuing that, Governor.
So what has the actions on the secondary market, has that evolved over the 3 years, or what's the action like there when you guys are trying to purchase those bonds?
It depends on the dynamics that exist in the marketplace at the time, Governor, in terms of whether investors are willing to relinquish their bonds in exchange for our offer to purchase. So we had a great success last time in both buying at a discount, $70 million discount, as well as avoiding interest cost. We're going to try it again and see. We're going back to the same sorts of investors. We're going back with the same kind of offer at a slight discount. But and so there's no way to know. But in terms of coming up on an April 15th date, we're hopeful that investors will be looking to trade bonds for cash in order to pay their federal income taxes. So it just depends on the marketplace at the time, Governor.
Great. All right. Anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Chris Spencer, SBA.
Thank you, Governor and trustees. We have 6 items on the agenda today. Items 1A, 1B, and 1C are all the approval of the fiscal sufficiency for the bond finance items that Ben Watkins just explained. So I request approval for those items.
All right. I move to approve the items. Is there a second? Second. Hearing no objection, the motion carries.
All right, now item 2A, request approval of the regular quarterly draft JLAC letter regarding Florida Prime, and item 2B, requests approval of the quarterly report required by the Protecting Florida's Investments Act. I request approval.
All right, I move to approve the reports as presented. Is there a second? Second. Hearing no objection, the motion carries.
Item 3, request approval of the comprehensive investment plans for the Florida Prepaid College Board. I'll give you a little background on this because you don't normally see this item. The Florida Prepaid College Board met on December 10th of 2025 and unanimously approved amendments to their comprehensive investment plans. The changes focus mostly on adopting a standard of care for their investment management of the Florida Prepaid College Board staff and their external managers, adding the non-pecuniary language similar to that applies to us at the SBA, and adopting proper risk constraints around their investment allocations. We are required by law to review that and concur, and we have reviewed that, and we do concur with their proposed changes. So I request approval of that item.
I move to approve the item. Is there a second? Okay, move on to your next item. It's approved.
Item 4A and 4B request approval for the repeal of two rules. This is the result of legislation that passed during last legislative session that requires governmental entities to review rules and then propose repeals. The 4A is a repeal of all of the rules that currently surround our investment policy statements. After legal review, we've determined that the IPSs do not constitute a rule. And as of right now, whenever we bring an IPS change to you, the trustees, you vote on it, and then you notice we then come back at a subsequent meeting and do rulemaking around it to ratify it through rulemaking. This will repeal that requirement. So once you voted on the IPS changes, that's the end of it.
Okay.
And then item 4B is just an administrative rule that no longer has statutory authority.
All right, I move to approve the item. Is there a second? Okay, having tabled item 5, please present your final item.
Item 6 is the quarterly reports required pursuant to section 215.44, paragraph 2, subparagraph E. All the material is included in your materials. We are lacking the performance reports that would normally come because of the date of this cabinet meeting. So at the next quarterly meeting, you'll have 2 quarters of performance reports to review.
Okay, move to approve the reports as submitted. Is there a second? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Glass, FDLE.
Morning, sir.
Reported.
FDLE has 2 items for consideration: a report on contracts over $100,000 for the second quarter of FY 2526. The department's delegation authority under Florida Administrative Code requires submission of this report to the governor and cabinet.
Okay, I move to accept the reports as submitted. Is there a second? Okay, hearing no objection, the motion carries.
The second item is notice of proposed rules. The department requests approval to file for final adoption if no substantive changes to the rules are required. I do request a motion for approval excluding rule number 11B 27.00212, paren 14 and 14A.
Move to approve the items as amended. Is there a second? Hearing no objection, the motion carries.
Many of the rule revisions are cleanup and form updates. I will just touch on a few specifics. 11 Bravo 14, 20, 21, 27, 30, and 35 are Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission rules. Changes include updating various forms, aligning firearms and training standards with current curriculum and statutory changes, refining moral character and disciplinary guidelines, and incorporate new requirements such as lethality assessments and medical review, officer verification for drug screens. 11 Charlie 4, 6, and 10 are criminal justice information rules, updates rules to modernization of contact information, clarify fingerprints and VEX application procedures, and add the new spectrum alert implementation processes required by recent legislation. And the final one is 11 Delta-12, are the Division of Law Enforcement's assistance rules. These updates expand acceptable DNA submissions, modernize and clarify alcohol testing standards and procedures, revise related forms and instrument requirements, and establish the definitions of process needed to implement the expedited DNA testing grants. That concludes those items, sir.
Okay, immigration, Anthony Coker.
Good morning, Governor and Cabinet. The State Board of Immigration Enforcement has one agenda item. The first item is going to be initial grant requests for consideration totaling $14,999,592.03. And the second is going to be for the amended grant award. We recommend to approve the items as submitted in the amended grant award with the modification to Lee County to include 2 years of equipment purchases, bringing the total number of the requests for Lee County specifically to $9,873,457.